So, little story time. Um, so for anyone who doesn't know, has been living under a rock in the sense of, as far as my stream goes, I had a lipoma on my face, which I should probably face cam for this. Bam. And as you can see now, I am all stitched up. I think Michelle counted like 7 stitches or something like that. Because I had a nice little fatty buildup on my cheek and needed to get it removed. And it was pretty obvious once I pointed out to people how fat my cheek was on this side. So obviously months of appointments and pre-op appointments and all that stuff. Finally get there. And they're telling me about the options for the anesthesia. They talk about it like in the first appointment. They're like, you can be awake for it, where it'll be like a light sedation, nothing too crazy. You'll be awake for most of it. You won't feel nothing, but you will be aware. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. I really don't think I'd want to do that. That sounds kind of terrible. I feel like I'd have too much anxiety about that. So I was like, if we can do like a heavier sedation so that you'll be, sleep for it. Similar to like when you get your wisdom teeth removed, where it's not like, you're not getting put on like a freaking breathing tube and all this stuff, but you are not awake for it and you'll be loopy. You need a ride back from the appointment because should be driving. So I go with that route. Get to the appointment. Obviously Michelle's gonna, drive me to and from, and the anesthesiologist comes in and he's explaining to me about, he's like, yeah, we're just gonna do a light sedation. So like, you might not be asleep. You might fall asleep, but we don't know. You might not fall asleep, but you're not going to care. You're going to be sedated enough. You're not really going to give a shit what's going on. You'll be fine. Yeah, just like don't panic if you feel like, when you think about it, if you're actually awake during it. So I'm thinking I'm going to be kind of awake throughout this. I'm going to be kind of loopy, remember some of it. Then, I'm sitting waiting around. Then the nurse comes. They're like, all right, we're going to start bringing you over to the operating room. She's like, oh, I'm going to give you this medicine on the way over there to help, start relaxing you for it. So we're just rolling through the halls. She gave me something. I don't know what it was, but I didn't really feel anything. I was like we got to the operating room. Bunch of doctors and nurses in there. And I'm like, kind of like, that's kind of weird. And she's like, you feeling anything from the medicine yet? I'm like, not really, honestly. Like, I don't really, not that I noticed at least. Like, maybe, but it doesn't seem like it. Like, all right, can you just like scoot over a little bit? We're just gonna scooch over time, but over the chair. I'm like, yeah, scoot. Knocked. Instant knocked. Woke up, and then all of a sudden I'm just like I come to, I'm like in the recovery room. They're like, is that her right there with the black hair? I'm like, and it's Michelle. She's coming in. So they called her when I was in recovery, and she's coming in. I'm like, yeah, that's her. And they're like, whoa, else fast. I was like, fucking knocked me out. I don't remember anything. And the nurse is like, yeah, they didn't, they explained again about how, you might not actually fall asleep through it. You might not. And I was like, I hadn't had coffee in 2 days. I was just trying to hydrate as much as possible. So like the IV would, have no issues, be as hydrated as possible. I was like, so I haven't had coffee in a couple days. So I knocked out. She was like, yeah, it took a while to wake you up afterwards. Like, she was like, hey, you're going to wake up any day now. Come on, you can do it. And then, then the doctor came by. I had just woken up. Michelle got in the room. I'm up for like a minute, maybe at most, not even. Doctor comes in. He's like, everything went well. He was like, ended up being a little bigger than we expected. Ended up being about 2 inches in diameter, I think he said. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate it. And he was like, yeah, and it was pretty close to a lot of muscles and nerves. So like, you might be in a little more pain than you expected. It was a little more of a in-depth surgery than we expected it to be. So luckily, I did get it taken out when I did, because could have, if I did let it keep growing for a little while, because they made it seem like it wasn't too serious. It looked like it was in a spot that wasn't, catching on to anything important. It was kind of just in between layers of skin. Nothing too dangerous, but luckily we did get it removed when we did, because could have been a lot more damaging if it wasn't. So that's why they want me to go in again next week so they can remove the stitches. Some people try to tell me I should remove the stitches myself, like psychopaths. But they want to make sure I'd be real, on top of making sure I get all the feeling back in my face and everything like that. And, feels fine right now. Everything feels fine. Guy did a great job. But, yeah, what else? I think that was about it, though. That's about it. That was, I feel like something else funny happened, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, the nurse. Michelle comes and sits down, and they're starting to talk to us, and they're like, do you guys have any kids? And we're like, no. She's like, when you guys have kids, they're gonna have beautiful eyes because Michelle has really nice blue eyes and I have like blue eyes. She's like, you guys' eyes are both so beautiful. And people tell us this all the time. It's kind of a weird thing, but happens all the time where people like see me and Michelle and they're both like, you guys both have wicked nice eyes. Like, your kids are gonna have beautiful eyes when you finally have some. I'm like, maybe. With our luck, they'll end up having brown eyes. They'll be like that oddball that missed the DNA strand, you know, that fucking hits it and they end up with brown eyes. But yeah, it was a pretty fun time. It was a pretty fun time. Yeah, the doctors were cool. Everything went very smoothly. It's gonna cost me, $1,200 to pay for this, but which kind of sucks. But good old USA, good old US of A.